are certain words in the English language that I just hate to say. I hate the word cookie. I hate the word clown. I hate the word toy. And here's a shocker. I hate the word cartoon. Yes, me, the host of a show called Cartoon Limbo, hates the word cartoon. Well, I can't help it, it's the truth. The word cartoon has such a stigma attached to it. Is it a negative stigma? Not necessarily.
When I hear the word cartoon, I think of slapstick, talking animals. I think of either the shows from the olden days like Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse, or programs made for television specifically targeted at young children. This might sound silly, but to me there's a big difference between cartoons and animation. Tiny Toon Adventures is a cartoon. Bionic 6 is an animated series. Dora the Explorer is a cartoon. X-Men is an animated series. Here, play the game with me. That's a cartoon, animated, cartoon, Animaniacs, that's a tough one. Cartoon? Perhaps I'll explain that one at a later date. Could you picture if Batman the Animated Series was just called Batman, the cartoon? You couldn't possibly take it seriously.
So, here I am stuck in cartoon limbo because animation limbo didn't have quite the same ring to it. But I realize there are people out there who must see this title and say to themselves, oh, cartoon! No, this is just some creepy middle-aged guy babbling about kids stuff. Why doesn't he just grow up and move out of his parents' basement? To you, I say, flee! While I do have some guilty pleasures in a lot of the kids' stuff, animation can affect your emotions like any other media out there. It can be profound, disturbing, provocative. It can tell stories in ways live-action movies cannot. Whilst I am stranded here in limbo, I want to, stretch my legs, broaden my horizons. So I immediately searched for the most disturbing, thought-provoking animated movie out there. I looked at Watership Down. I looked at Tales of the Black Freighter. But the one that won out was a chilling little film from 1982 called The Plague Dogs. Now, I'm giving you fair warning. There are probably going to be some things in this review that you are not going to be able to unsee. People who are easily offended by graphic scenes of the mistreatment of animals should either stop watching now or search out the trailers to see if you can stomach it. For those of you out there who have a sick, morbid curiosity, such as myself, I still say pause this video and watch the movie first, because a lot of what makes this movie the ride that it is the surprise and shock elements of its storytelling. I try to keep these reviews spoiler-free, but in this case anything I say or show could be a potential spoiler. So, everybody, just pause this video and do your thing, either watch the trailer or watch the movie, and I'll be waiting for you when you get back. You didn't do anything, did you? You just watched me fade in and out like a goddamn idiot. You really want to go into this blind? Fine, suit yourself. Lazy ass.
The movie starts us off at a grimy, dirty research facility in 1960s England, running animals such as monkeys, rats, and dogs through a battery of tests. We are not told what these tests are right away, but needless to say, they are cruel. These animals endure lives of non-stop torture and are thrown out like ordinary trash. But a careless guard forgets to lock a cell door one unsuspecting night, and out escapes our hero, Snitter, who I call Snitty, a white fox terrier. He is able to help spring his buddy, a black lab by the name of Ralph, and the two escape their prison by way of an incinerator shaft. The two dogs have to lean real hard on one another to survive the vast, harsh world and its elements, as well as the humans on their tail. Ralph was bred for survival, but the tests he had to endure took a toll on his body, and he is slowly falling apart piece by piece. As for Snitter, he is in even sorrier shape. At one point, this dog had his brain taken out, and he has an enormous hole in his head. He is experiencing high anxiety and behavioral problems, and the many hallucinations he suffers makes things all the more difficult for our canine heroes. Snitter hasn't given up on the humans, as his master selflessly gave his life to a speeding car for him, and he convinces Ralph that finding a new master will solve all their problems and start a new life for them. They are not used to the outside world, however, and they keep screwing up one chance after the next. But their luck turns around when they befriend a cunning fox with, I swear, the coolest name I have ever heard for a character. The Todd. Not Todd, the Todd. That's awesome. The Todd teaches the pair how to survive the great outdoors, how to pick off sheep from the sprawling farmlands, and how to best ditch their pursuers. But the dead sheep they leave in their wake has the farmers talking, and through the telephone game of this person telling that person, the media reveals the existence of the laboratory, reveals they were performing experiments with the bubonic plague, possibly for weaponization, and Snitter and Ralph might be infected. This is technically a spoiler, but they tell you right in the title, come on! With this new development, the military is out in full force to capture our two doggy escapees. Even with the help of the Todd, how can the two wounded animals, starving and exhausted, outrun the small army hot on their heels? I think the better question is, will they?
Normally when I review these things, I break it up into sections. I do animation quality, art quality, soundtrack, voice talent, etc. With this movie, I'm gonna switch it up a bit. I'm gonna go into great detail about the first, 15 minutes or so, and cover that kind of like its own mini-movie. I really don't want to do this, but let's take a look at the lab.
This is some of the most bone-chilling animation I have ever seen. It is so dark and dingy and grimy, a place of pure evil. You can almost smell it permeating through your screen. The backgrounds are creepy and ominous. The music usually consists of a single eerie tone which hammers in that horror even more so. Even the cold delivery of the scientists' voices with that old grainy mono sound. It's horrifying, plain and simple. As I read this, I am dreading having to edit this video because I genuinely do not want to go back here. The imagery, man, it's almost indescribable. The animators did a great job selling us the horror, but I actually feel sorry for whoever had to animate this. This would give me nightmares for the rest of my days. As evil and sadistic this opening is, it is a necessary evil, because it shows right off the bat there are no limits here. Anything can happen at any time. The main character is just as mortal as a nameless background character. The sense of danger is incredible in this film. Take the Avengers, for example. I love the Avengers, but come on, they're fighting an alien invasion. Oh, they just keep coming and coming. Oh no, they're being overpowered. And that's just what they want you to think. But you know nothing's gonna happen to our heroes. You know Iron Man isn't going to die. In the end, it will be happily ever after no matter what. In Plague Dogs, you root extra hard for our main characters to escape and survive the onslaught thrown their way, because it is so believable that any one of they could be killed, or even worse, captured and brought back to that laboratory. A few times later in the film, we flash back to that laboratory, and I was watching this all like, shit, I thought we were done here. It's like staring back into the gates of hell after you've already broken free. It was always in the back of my mind, holy crap, they could be captured and brought back to that horrible place. I didn't want to go back there, I didn't want this movie to go back there, and it got me extra involved in this story to the point where I was cheering these dogs on like I was watching some kind of sporting event. The lab, it's horrible, I hate it, but good job.
Alright, with that out of the way, let's continue this review like normal. First, let's talk about the way this film looks.
The animation flows at that perfect frame rate. It is still movie quality, yet it is not too fluent. It hits that sweet spot to make these canine characters look as authentic as they can be. You look at a movie like Lady and the Tramp, the animation is gorgeous, but a lot of times they don't move like real dogs. When they engage in conversations, they move and behave more like humans. In Plague Dogs, Snitter and Ralph are 100% canine. I am continuously impressed by the anatomy on these dogs. They move realistically at every angle. The animators, they don't shy away from things like buttholes. Hey, they exist, people. And natural processes like peeing and, yes, pooping. This may seem like I am giving the flick more credit than it deserves, but no, this is a big deal. Adding these elements adds to the realism. And if there's one thing this movie does extraordinarily, it is the realism. I don't know if they were doing it to complement the story or to accurately depict the cloudiness of Great Britain, but this is a very dark film. The colors are very muted and there is a very heavy use of gray. The backgrounds almost have a smeary kind of quality to them. This is a rather dark tale we are telling here, and these touches complement the story so well. Particularly masterful is the way they depict Snitter's hallucinations. There is one part of the film where Snitter is literally in two places at once. In the real world, he is in a dirty woodshed, but in his mind he is sitting by a cozy fire with his master. I give all the credit in the world to the animators and background artists here. This must have been a bitch and a half to figure out. But as it all unfolds, you can tell exactly what's going on, and when they slowly introduce a third setting to the scene, man, I got such a chill down my spine. It's tough to explain, it's something you really just have to see. I also have to gush a little about the soundtrack. The movie was made in the 80s, but the music really feels like late 70s to me. It's very symphonic folky, if that's a thing. There are some brief lighthearted moments in this film, like the various hunting and fishing montages, where the soundtrack gets inexplicably jazzy. There's this slide trombone that comes in, which I guess is supposed to accentuate the silliness going on, but to me, since it's so off-putting and out of place, it makes these moments seem a little creepy. And that's something this movie already has in excess. When it comes time to score those somber, shocking moments, this movie does it well. Almost too well! In fact, one of this movie's more dubious honors is how well it uses silence. The soundtrack knows just when it needs to drop in and out. There will be long periods where you don't hear music in the background because, truthfully, music would hinder the scene. It would blow the tension.
My hat's off.